There was a quote that Alex from Car Throttle said when he drove the Torino of, yeah, that car was the slowest way to get yourself into trouble, or slowest way to lose your license. I think he's wrong. That car wasn't. This car is. Right, so here we are in the Levin. So this is my recent purchase. It's 1986 Toyota Corolla Levin. It's the Levin Butte instead of the hatch, which, well, I mean, I've got a Torino hatch already, as you probably already know. So now I have one of each. It's pretty standard shit box, to be honest. You know, we've got, you know, your box standard 4AGE with some NGK spark plugs and just a cone filter and, you know, Mishimoto Ali Rad, usual mods for these cars. Moving back, you know, we've got a standard gearbox, TRD 2-way LSD diff. Yeah, it's well, I don't really know how to explain a diff, to be honest, apart from it's better than the one I already had. Same as the gearbox, because it's got a TRD short shift in it, or short shifter in it, which, if you know these things, if you know the TRD short shift, they're all metal bushed, which means all you hear is the just ear-bending rattle of metal on metal, which in the Torino you'd hear no matter what RPM you were doing or whatever. You know, the moment you turn the car on, that thing starts rattling. Whilst in this thing, you only really hear it when you get into the higher RPMs, which I couldn't do because some dickhead pulled out on me. Yeah, the diff as well, you know, diff in the Torino, just non-stop, which is just infuriating. Like, I don't really know how to say it. It's just infuriating. Whilst this thing, peaceful. Like, I've not heard the diff once in this thing, and I did the ended up being 6.5 hour drive home at almost full chat the whole way, and didn't hear the diff once. And thankfully, unlike my Torino, when I'm doing the review on this thing, again, unlike when Car Throttle did the review on the Torino, this thing doesn't have wiring issues. So happy! Yeah, so no cutting out issues, all my lights work. I mean, the lights on the dashboard are a bit grim, so that's quite entertaining to try and see when you're driving at night. You know, everything works. Well, everything apart from the screen wash, because Mr. Japan, well, I say Mr. Japan, this car's not been very well looked after. In Japan it was a skid car, so I mean, we all know how the Japanese treat their skid cars, especially 86s. Just look at Noriyaru's new one. You know, opens the door and the bottom of the door falls out. So it's never been very well looked after. Got imported over here in 2016, I think, or 2006, sorry. Was then bought in 2008, I believe, or maybe 16 and 18. I can't remember. I think it's 16 and 18. Imported in 2016. The guy I bought it off bought it in 2018. So, you know, it hadn't spent that long in the UK. And again, you know, the guy bought it off, he's not done anything to it because he just drove it for what it is. It's a skid car, but I don't think he ever used to skid it. So, you know, it's loud, it's bumpy, the suspension's a bit shit. Suspension wise, you know, we've got the rears are TRD blue inserts, which again are pretty good. They're comfier than they were. They're comfier than my suspension was in the Torino. But then, let's be honest, if I ever took you out in that car, or you know, you watched the Car Throttle review, for example, anything's comfier than that thing. That thing had no suspension; it was just tyres. I'm not entirely sure what the front suspension is, but again, you know, it's a bit rough and ready, but it's a damn sight more comfy than what I used to have. And as you can probably hear, it has a noisemaker. So the exhaust system is, as far as I've been told, an Apexi megaphone. Now there is a bung that should go in the end just to quieten it down a little bit, at least get rid of some of the drone that's in it. Unfortunately, when I got the car, I got given a load of spares. The bung was one of them. But when the bung was taken out, either in Japan or in the UK, I can't remember which one it was, they've snapped the head off the bolt. So it was just a bit of thread stuck in this exhaust bung, which obviously over time has rusted itself to the fucking nut, or even worse than it already had done. So of course I've come to put the fucking thing in, I've tried welding nuts to the stud, and it just kept breaking off in little pieces. So I chose the executive decision to drill a fucking hole in it, to put a new nut on it. Well, that went brilliantly, apart from now either my exhaust tips had a beating, which it probably has, or the bung's now not circular. Not circular, because it just won't go in. I tried hammering that fucker in and that wouldn't go anywhere. So that's the fucking problem with that. So at the moment I'm living with this exhaust pipe on it, which I don't know. I plan to do a lot of car shows in this thing, at least until the Torino's done, and then this thing's going to be a daily driver, or say daily driver. This thing's going to be a little fun weekend car, and the Torino's going to be a show car. So I mean, at the moment, it's not too bad. I quite like it, really. Tick over, it sounds like any other car. For some reason, you let this thing tick over at set traffic lights, and you blend in with traffic. It's the moment you touch the accelerator, yeah, it goes loud. But again, it's not too bad. The only issue I have with it is that, if I go to a car show at 4 o'clock in the morning, then I'm going to wake up my whole street by turning this thing on, because it's got no cold start injector. Now, I don't know why it's got no cold start injector. There's a plug for it, but no injector. Actually, no, correction. There's the wires for it, no plug and no injector. So on a cold start, this thing's a dick to try and start. And then once you got it started, it'll sit at 2,500 RPM until it's warmed up, which is great fun. All in all, I mean, the camera's probably a bit tiny bit shaky because it's sat on a tripod in my footwell, and the car's bumpy as shit. So you might have to just forgive me for that one. I can't think of another way of doing it. But let's just listen to that. Do a bit of a grindy gear there. There's just something about the noise that this car makes. Like, I know if you drive down these country lanes, this is what, 3,000 RPM with my foot just on the accelerator just to make it a bit quieter. You sort of semi-forget how loud it is. You go, oh, it's quite loud. And then when you suddenly decide, or you suddenly jump on a dual carriage wheel, suddenly decide, enough is enough. And you it just... noise. I love it a lot. I'll be slightly careful down here. These are like 1.5 lane wide country roads, and the last thing I want is to meet something, because as you've seen in my previous video, there's so much rust on this thing. I don't think the crumple zones exist anymore. There'll now be zones. The moment I hit anything, this car's going to turn to fucking dust, which means the crumple zone is my face. Oh, it's just so noisy. I love it. It's just, nothing. So as you can probably hear, now you can't hear it. This thing still has the chime in it. Which, granted, started. Okay, I've not driven this thing for about a week because I only ever drive it on weekends now. So it's come back to being fun, but on a 6-hour drive home, oh my god, it is because it's one of the only things you can fucking hear over the exhaust pipe. It's just unwieldy noisy.